So this is going to be fun for a multitude of reasons.
Yeah.
First of all, you're going on vacation and all hell is breaking loose. So,
Oh, absolutely. Total girls trip. Going to be
Yeah.
touring the Oregon wine country. Super exciting.
Get some Pinot from Oregon. That's my jam right there. So yeah, that sounds fun. And typical Murphy's Law, when you're going to go away, the world collapses around you, and you have to fix it all before you go.
Yep.
So that's at least everything operating normally. I'm going to throw myself on the sword this week. I was late getting the invite out to our guest, and so I don't know if she has the link. So we just pushed it out to Heidi. So we're going to do a little song and dance here. And Heidi might show up, which would be fantastic. If not, we do have a bunch of stuff that we can chat about because there's been all kinds of stuff going on around the world of CPCU. So a reminder to everyone, whether this is your first time watching or if you're a returning viewer, we are How to CPCU, a production put on by volunteers of the CPCU Society. As usual, like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, retweet, send this out there, help others know that we get on here and do our little song and dance every single week and bring you good information about the CPCU Society. So what do you want to start with? I think just today, literally, 2-3 hours ago, we had a roadshow, right? Did you catch much of it?
Oh yeah, caught the whole thing and was pretty much enthralled by the information that was shared, because just such a vast array of knowledge shared by some risk managers, brokers, and agents around the life that they live in both hard markets and soft markets. And One thing was for sure: relationships matter, no matter what type of market that we're living in.
Oh yeah, and it was a good the panel was fantastic. It was a good representation of people that work in all different areas of the industry and the marketplace, and so there was also a lot of I guess feedback or intercommunication between the more kind of like brokery people on the panel and the underwriters and things like that. A lot of discussion about making sure to keep an underwriter in the loop, and a hard market. I think a lot of people don't understand this. Like, a hard market is a really good time to make money, but it's also frustrating because you have to deliver a lot of bad news. You're doing, your normal renewal is like 5 times as much work because you have to go out there and try and find the carriers that are still writing that business aggressively versus everyone else who's getting nailed on their rates. But yeah, it was really good information. I think what was also interesting was they touched on things like captives and stuff like that, that not a lot of, like, say, retail brokers and agents necessarily get a lot of exposure to. So that was pretty good. Just trying to think about what else.
I think some of those shocking deductibles that they were talking about, that they have to bring some tough news to some of their clients about, just opens your eyes to understand that insurance has such mass impacts on the way that commerce is transacted in society today. And it's it's always a great balance of we got to make sure that we communicate well enough with our underwriters, and they have built those relationships with underwriters,
Mm,
so that when those submissions go through, that underwriter doesn't hesitate, or your risk managers or your brokers don't hesitate as well, to maybe pick up the phone and just call the underwriter and say, hey, here's what you need to understand context wise with
mm.
what I'm sending through right now. So it is, what a time for those who have lived through it. And of course, it was super cool. Betsy Brewer was on that call, and she remembers all of those cyclic hard markets that we've had going back to the 70s right now.
Yeah.
So she has been through all of them, and she has seen and learned from the challenges of that. So great tip there to anybody who wants to understand how this affects you and how you can weather through it. Reach out to Betsy. Sorry, Betsy, I'm throwing you under the bus here.
No, I think she's always been open to have a conversation. So I don't know if she necessarily have too much of an issue with that. But yeah, no, that was a huge deal. Was the fact that she had, it wasn't her first rodeo, so to speak, and so drawing on that, a career of knowledge, that going through those kind of like ebbs and flows in the marketplace was really valuable in terms of what you brought to the table. So yeah, it was really fantastic. We also have something else coming up tomorrow. We have a town hall coming up. Was that supposed to just be for the membership expansion, or is it just a general town hall?
I think one of the main topics is the membership expansion discussion, but they also have some updates around like chapters and interest groups as well. So tune in tomorrow for all things that you want to know that are going on at the society level. You've got your leadership council members there. You've got Spencer, who's going to be on that call, and Sharon as well. So it'll be a fantastic opportunity to kind of open your eyes as to what's happening in the society as they continue to work through, all the logistics that are associated with this planned membership expansion, as well as future plans for what we're doing with the society.
Yeah, I'm just reading through the email announcement for it, and yeah, it looks like it's multifaceted. Yeah, so it looks like the Leadership Council's hard at work with strategically planning the CPCU Society membership expansion. Through this initiative, CPCU Society will evolve into an organization that works to support all RMI professionals in any stage of their careers, along with the preservation of what makes the society great. The membership expansion efforts will seek ways to be more equitable, inclusive, and to offer an even stronger value proposition to the industry. Yeah, they throw out some props to the society staff which are working really hard, members of the Institute's board of directors, leadership council, and yeah. So let's talk about that for a second, because I've heard some people be skeptical about it. I've heard some people be really excited about it. What was kind of your initial impression when they started talking about this expansion of, not just being so I wouldn't necessarily say exclusive, but having some of these kind of tripwires to becoming a member, or at least being active in the society?
Yeah, I think at first it was curiosity, like, where are we going with this? Kind of what's the motivation, what's the plan behind it, so we could kind of see what's it going to do for CPCU society members. But I'll just remind everybody that, starting last year with the roadshows, the interest groups decided that we weren't going to limit roadshows to just CPCU society members.
Mm-hmm.
And at no prompting or ask of the society was that decision made at
Yeah.
all. We wanted to open up kind of and allow people that peek behind the curtain, per se, because a lot of folks who look at CPCUs, it's almost like, well, that's this, exclusive club that you belong to, and that, I could never be a part of because I haven't chosen to go down the path. But for me, I think that we're at the precipice of a very exciting time for the society to continue to grow as a as a as a risk management professional organization for anyone and everyone. Now, granted, does that not mean that when you decide to join and you don't have your CPCU, that people aren't going to be looking at you and going, hey, we want to get you down the path because we want you to join the group of us who've taken that journey and who have completed the designation, because the more people who do, the better our knowledge base that we continue to build for the industry as a whole. And as we look at what we have talked about multiple times on this show, Matt, that silver tsunami that is coming, and it is we're standing at it right now. There's going to be a mass exodus of talent and knowledge in the industry. So if we don't grab a hold of as many people as we possibly can and pull them underneath the tent, make them realize and understand this is a fantastic professional organization to be involved in that can really evolve and change your career in ways that you would never even imagine.
Yeah,
we're gonna be hurting. We're gonna be hurting as a group, and I also think it helps us and opens our eyes to more opportunity that is available to us as a professional organization.
Yeah, it's I'm just throwing out like a publicity post right now for the live cast, but so I was actually taking screenshots and there are some really funny ones of both you and I, which I will not share on LinkedIn. Don't worry about it. But yes, yeah. To your point, there's a couple of dynamics going on right now. So the marketplace right now is a really strange place, right? So you have a number of government programs and interventions that happened as a result of COVID, namely unemployment and things like that, as well as some of these new, like, I got a tax credit the other day, for my kids in a direct deposit, and I had to go back and look and be like, did the brokerage pay me like a direct deposit? Like, I don't know where I got this money from. And so you have all these programs that are working right now. And also you have a labor market that's in flux, as well as a number of industries where, we were mostly in person, then it was, almost 100% remote. And now the question is, all right, do we head back towards somewhere in the middle? And what are the growing pains of that? So I saw a post on Twitter today or yesterday where the person was like, I've had 20 people walk off a job within the last like 3 months, and starting salary is like $65,000. And I'm like, okay, you have my interest peaked. Like, what industry is it? And he said it was claims adjusters. There were claims adjusters that are basically saying, you know what, starting at 65K, a number of them are making, in some cases, more to not take the job, or to walk off and basically take unemployment if they have that option. And we got into a conversation about, all right, well, we've always had, but like as of recently, we've been up against that issue of being able to recruit that next generation, right? As well as lure people from other industries that might have been downsized or they're restructuring or something, and we need to try and lure them into insurance, right, to get us here, get them here and involved in the mix. And that's always been, a tough hill to climb. It's always been very, very labor intensive to do that. And we're always up against, these kind of like sexier, more glitzy, glamoury, like even the gig economy, which you wouldn't think was that attractive if you're thinking with, middle-aged brain, right? Millennials and actually even more so than millennials, like, Gen Z, they're all sitting there looking at these like gig jobs where they're like, oh, okay, well, I can work whenever I want and I can make money, and I have to work as much as I want to buy something, right? And they discount or don't necessarily understand the long-term positive, career development opportunity that exists in the industry. So I saw that as a move in the right direction, or a move in a good direction, right? Like, I'm not sure there's necessarily, one right answer to kind of like address these issues, but I think it's a move in a decent direction to bring more people in, right? Like, get new blood in, get them exposed to the society and the industry, and really kind of help them understand what that long-term, perspective looks like. I feel like this old fuddy-duddy all the time, where like I'm looking back and I'm like, man, my parents really knew what the heck they were talking about but when I was like, young and like full of fire, I was like, what the hell do you guys know, like, I there was some merits there to what they were telling me, and so I think we have a similar a similar challenge to face as far as that goes. And so I see that. I mean, do you see any potential like negatives that can come from it? I mean, there's going to be some growing pains, I think, in terms of changing things, but
I mean, I think that most CPCUs, because we are such a small percentage of the industry. If you look at our numbers, I don't even know what the number is right now, but we are a very small percentage, those of us who have chosen to take the journey to get your insurance masters, basically. And many people did that, either through company support or without company support. And you think about the arduous journey that you've gone through, and there might be sentiments out there right now about feeling like, well, is this discounting what I've done? Is this, have we now opened up what felt like the country club at times, to a broader group of people? But I think we have to step back from that, because what is the value to our industry if we keep all of the knowledge and the specialized knowledge in this one little group of people, and we don't open up the doors to say, yeah, you can come in, but we definitely want to get you on the path. And we want you to be a part of what this is and be able to be exposed to what this can do for your career once you make that choice. So I think all of us have to make the choice to be those influencers and those champions of what CPCU does for us, so that we can encourage those who do come in as members and are not, don't have their CPCU, to jump on the train.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
I understandably so, there's some skepticism on the part of some folks, inside the society, because, there's been some challenges within the last couple of years. And, whenever things like these change, you're always going to have people who are like, well, I like it the old way, or they'll ascribe some kind of incentive to making this change that isn't necessarily what everyone is kind of driving at, like, oh well, they just want more dues or something like that to fill the coffers. That's not it at all. It has very little, if anything, to do with that, especially from my conversations that I've had with a bunch of the people that are involved in these, that were involved in the planning of these changes. That's not really it. It's really more so, trying to set the stage for success 5-10 years down the road, which, by the way, that's no different than other professional associations have been doing as well. A lot of them have been, for years, have been less restrictive than we have in terms of being able to be involved in their organizations. And a number of them are faring better during this time period than we are because of that, because they did it way back when, and we're just kind of like doing it now, No, it'll be interesting to see, especially if we can get some, especially if it's like the student memberships and like, the young kids and young adults that we can get in the door. That'll be a huge, huge positive long term in terms of recruitment and things like that. Hopefully some of them watch the show, like, that would be good. If they like to get their news from more video-based content instead of an email or something like that. But so what else? Was there something else that I forgot in terms of upcoming events that we were talking about? I know we have some stuff to talk about with IN2Risk, but I was thinking there was something else that came up here. Oh, the International Ambassador Program. Did you read up on that at all? I haven't really read up on it, so I'm going to lean on you for this one.
Yeah, I would just say there's been I know I've seen a ton of posts by various CPCUs on LinkedIn and Twitter encouraging individuals to apply for
Yeah.
the International Ambassadors Program. Great program, by the way, that kind of helps to bring in those who are out there outside of the United States, and kind of bring their perspective as well. And I know that this has been heavily promoted as well by 3IG, and they are soliciting and looking for someone, for those individuals who are interested in applying for the ambassador program. So
Yeah. The big positive of this organization is that it is international. And so, having, there are certain siloed organizations that are US only, or maybe they might even only be like region specific. That is a gigantic selling point for this organization, is the fact that you have people that are working, in Japan and Switzerland and France and, Canada and all throughout South America, and the islands. Like, you have people that are working in other business environments and other insurance, like regulatory environments and stuff. It's really fun to, like, swap war stories and be like, oh, well, that's nothing, you should hear what we have to deal with, like, so you get to commiserate from that standpoint. But in terms of that international ambassador program, is that something where, is that kind of like, has a mentoring aspect to it?
it does. I mean, what they are kind of charged with is the visiting of like industry employers to kind of understand what professional development needs are. Now, our current international ambassador is the founder of the WhatsApp group out there, the International Group of Insurance Professionals, that has like 100,000 risk management insurance and insurance professionals all over the world as a part of it. So if you haven't joined that particular WhatsApp, or if you're interested in maybe learning a little bit more, they talk about like from A to Z 1 million of things that are happening in the international world. And they've hosted some webinars and some just some various presentation events. Obviously, the challenge is I have WhatsApp, I have it on my phone, and of course all my notifications for them come at really odd hours of the day because they're halfway around the world. But Zulfikar has done a fantastic job of getting that stood up and just really promoting the conversation in between risk management professionals around the world. And if you haven't joined WhatsApp, it is very much nothing like your Twitter or your Facebook or your LinkedIn social media. It's like instantaneous communication in between various groups. It's almost like one gigantic text message string in between all of these individuals. And they spend a lot of time encouraging each other too, even about personal things that are happening in their life, and making connections. People will ask a question out there about a particular, like international coverage form that they're looking for data and information on. And then, a couple hours later, somebody pops in, is like, hey, I know a little bit about this. Let me tell you what's going on. So very organic group. Super interesting. But once again, those notifications are going to be rolling in at all weird hours of the day and night for you on that particular group.
What's crazy is, talk about technology, first world problems and stuff like that. I have a number of professional and other kind of like, personal interests that I'm in, like group chats. And, while my phone is just sitting there, it's just buzzing like it's going out of style, right? And some of them I have to turn the notifications off periodically and stuff. And who it doesn't really annoy me that much. Who it annoys is my wife, right? Yeah. Like, she's like, can you turn that damn thing off? Like,
and I would say the same for my husband. Like, who around the world is notifying you now?
In fact, I was just kind of like Googling to see if they have anyone who kind of like talks about the group, but I think it's just something where you have to search it organically on WhatsApp. But that's a good one. So yeah, that International Ambassador Program, let's see, applications are due by August 13th.
Yep.
So they do have one dedicated position, and if you want to hold that position, the applications are due by August 13th. And there is a, let's see if I can share this link. Hopefully it's not like, well, the link goes to Interact. You might have to be logged in to Interact in order to get to it, but let me copy and paste it just in case so folks have it. Wow, that's a long link. All right. So yeah, I threw the link into the feeds. So folks can go to that link on Interact if they have an Interact login to be able to take part in that application process. Anyone who is joining us late, if you didn't see my initial announcement, I flubbed the invite for our new designee. So hopefully Heidi gets it and she pops in here for the second half of the show. But we are still talking about some stuff that's happening around the CPCU Society in terms of news and getting caught up here. There's also been a ton of, and you know what? I reached out to Chris Hampshire to see if we can't do some crossover with him and do maybe an episode with him highlighting this or both of the shows, and then vice versa, he could come on with us and kind of talk about what he's doing in terms of the In the Know podcast. But it looks like he's had some pretty good guests on recently, launching new programs with Kevin Johnson from Munich Re, and then where are the innovation opportunities in InsurTech with Justin Gress from Strategic Initiatives at Vantage Holdings Group. I guess Vantage Holdings is a strategic investment group, I would imagine.
And I think he just dropped a new one today, actually.
Okay.
Just checked on Interact here, and he had Greg Offner, who was he's a keynote speaker, event MC, like coach, disruption and creativity subject matter expert.
And if I
it was
recall, is Greg going to be at IN2Risk?
I believe he is. I think he's on the speaker list for that. But he, what's really important after COVID? So that one should be super interesting.
Yes.
And you can pick up that on any of your regular, like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. Just adding the RSS feed to your app.
Yep.
So,
yep. Yeah, and so Greg is going to be, that's a dynamite lead-in. I might as well share my screen while I'm sitting here scrolling through notes that I should have been just showing everyone. So this is the speaker. The speakers page for IN2Risk is now, I think, almost completely full, or might even be completely full now. But some huge names on here in terms of what they're going to be talking about and kind of their reputation. So so Greg is going to be the keynote, and he's going to be talking about disruption and creativity. Disruption and creativity. So that should be pretty interesting. I don't know if we want to roll through all of these. I know we looked at a number of the speakers when we went through kind of like the agenda, but let me see here. Tracy's absolutely fantastic. Tracy is a member of the Rhode Island CPCU Society chapter, and she's with APSO, and she was previously with I can't remember where she was right before this, but she is absolutely fantastic, a firecracker. Denise Brown, as usual, usually an awesome session. I forget if she's probably doing her own session. She usually teams up with Rita from New Jersey. I'm just trying to see if they have Rita listed, so I don't know. They have the profiles here, but they don't link to like the sessions that they're doing. So I'll have to go back to the other page maybe in order to kind of look into this. But just looking at some of the other names here, Paul I always get his last name wrong. Paul Tetrault, right, from the Insurance Library.
Yep.
He's usually got some fantastic information. Ramya is going to be presenting, which is awesome. She did one. Let's see. Ramya did one that was. It was like being an insurance nerd or something, wasn't it? What was the session that she did? Was that at Leadership or was that at InToRisk?
I think that was at Leadership. Yeah.
At Leadership, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a fun one because it kind of like delved into a bunch of different things, and at one point, like, it was about making public presentations and public speaking. I forget what else they talked about, but that was usually, she usually does a really good session when she's involved. Michelle Schroeder, one of my leader friends over at the Agent and Broker Interest Group, is going to
Mm-hmm.
be doing a presentation. I think hers is going to be focused on, if I recall, like getting to yes in terms of getting an insurance submission,
Mm-hmm.
and getting it actually quoted and or bound with a carrier. So that should be really fun.
And those of you that joined the Roadshow today, you did get to see Michelle there as well.
Yep. Yes. Michelle's been super duper active, and she's a rock star. Let's see. Laura Pinesso is another one from New Jersey chapter. She is the current New Jersey chapter president, and so she had the fun of succeeding me as president of the chapter, and so the mess I left, she got to clean up. So, but she's awesome. She deals with like state regulations all the time and things like that. So that's always something interesting to deal with because, quite frankly, as a broker, I know what kind of regulations I have to deal with. I have no clue what kind of regulatory environment, an insurance carrier or, she works for ISO-Verisk, so
Mm-hmm.
they're creating mathematical models and computational products and stuff like that. I have no clue in the entire world what kind of regulatory environment they deal with, but I'm pretty sure it's probably 1,000x what I have to deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely.
Let me see who else is on here. Anyone else kind of jump out at you, Heather?
Well,
Obviously, Mike K.
we got that Mike K guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. Nick's there as well. Nick Lamparelli, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so it should be really great. Of course, Jim Jones. You see Jim Jones there. He's from my local chapter,
Mm-hmm.
and the director of the Katy School of Insurance here. And Jim and I are really good friends because serving as a chapter treasurer this year, they decided to do an audit of our financial records with our audit committee. So I have experienced an audit,
Yeah.
which is super fun, I have to tell you. Not.
How did that go? Was that so? It was basically an internal audit. Or?
Yeah, we did we have an audit committee, and
Okay.
of course, they're obviously financial services professionals that understand the nuances of that. But of course,
Mm-hmm.
I, as the bearer of the records, am the person that has to do all the document and record production for that. So it's been highly educational, I will say. Never thought in my entire career as an insurance professional that I would be involved in a financial audit. Doesn't mean that I haven't done records audits in the past with various other roles that I've been in, but did learn a ton about what it takes to produce, like an auditing report, and excited to be able for that committee to be able to deliver that to our chapter board in our next meeting. So.
That's fun.
Yeah.
You mentioned Nick. Nick is with Rethought, who they're one of these. I don't know if they would consider themselves an insure tech company or if they would just consider themselves like a tech forward insurance program company that started, but they're basically like an MGA, and they're one of these organizations that started because of I would call them the lack of accurate rating information as far as flood coverage goes.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the biggest things that they started with. And since then, I think they're expanding to other lines of coverage. But they still to this day are using data analytics to figure out where, the soft spots are in the federal flood program pricing to, pick those highly profitable accounts that they could actually offer a competitive premium to that are, lower likelihood of claim, lower likelihood of losses, despite being in, a high risk, special flood hazard area. So yeah, that should be pretty interesting.
That crazy cat, Greg Golson is going to be
I'll tell you
around.
what, he's a character, man. He's a complete
Yeah.
character.
Yeah. But always great sessions that he's involved in for sure. very
Yes.
encouraging and uplifting, and just you will learn something that you will be able to apply in your day-to-day life in Greg's sessions.
Yep. Yep. And you know what? What's funny is a ton of these people have also been guests on How to CPCU as well.
Oh
So
yeah.
we get to say that we helped make them famous at least.
Oh yeah.
Abby, talk about she is a soon to be guest on How to CPCU. In fact, and she was on with us when we talked about 3IG, I think,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
But she's going to be on. What did I say? Next week or the week after? I think next week, because she just wrote a book. And
Yeah.
so we want to help support our own, obviously. Um, and then, now I'm not too familiar. Let's see, I'm not too familiar with Greg. I do know Mateo, though,
Oh yeah.
because as far as like InsurTech world and IoT world, he's like godly. I mean, like his live casts pop up on my LinkedIn feed, and like 1,000 people are watching his
Hmm.
live cast on an InsurTech presentation or at a conference or something like that. It's pretty incredible.
So,
Uh,
note to anybody who hasn't been to IN2Risk before, get to Mateo's session early
yes,
if you
yes.
want to be able to be in the room.
Mateo's like I I I I beg to like not I don't want to throw Rob under the bus, but like what does Rob call himself? The most interesting man
The
in
most
insurance or whatever.
interesting man in insurance.
I think Mateo could call himself like the most watched man in InsurTech or something. I don't know. Like there is there is some definite interest when he puts together some of his sessions and he's talking, because he's got his finger on the pulse of like I think a lot of the tech news that like you and I probably get.
Hmm.
We're getting it months after it was breaking news.
Yeah.
He's getting stuff bang like before it even develops. Like he's out there actually looking at what the next 6 to 12 months look like. And so some of the AI stuff that's going on and the IoT stuff is really starting to hit. And he was talking about those things 6, 12 months ago, and we're just finding out about them now because that's when news articles and stuff are being written about them. But
Hmm.
yeah,
For sure.
so yeah, so look, I have to apologize to Heidi because I should have double confirmed that I had sent her the link here, but we're gonna get her on at a new time. We have a couple of other new designees too that we're gonna be bringing on.
Hmm.
Um, Ruthie Phillips is one of them, and then I'm forgetting someone. Boop, 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 boop. Nope, it wasn't this one. Sorry, I'm going through my schedule manually here. Not a new designee, but we do have Brett Clausen coming up as well
Yeah.
within the next couple of weeks. So Brett's going to be talking about mentorship, and then he's also big time involved in the governors for chapter governors activities. So that should be really interesting in terms of talking to Brett. I'm trying to remember if I'm forgetting anyone else who's kind of coming up here in the future. We floated a couple invites to people, and we're waiting to hear back from them. So if you do want to go on How to CPCU, and you have a specific topic about the society that you would like to talk about, we would definitely like to have you on. So that's the sales pitch for the episode.
Oh, and I just noticed that it looks like Rita a while back actually, New Jersey chapter and is always way ahead of the curve when it comes to save the dates and sending out information for everyone.
Yep.
And I think it would be amazing to have some folks on to talk about like organizing an I-Day
Mm,
for your chapter, because I think there's probably a lot of smaller chapters out there. They're like, we don't know if we can do this, we don't know how we can do this, and whether your chapter is large or small, I-Day requires a lot of coordination and a lot of work and a lot of people doing their part to be able to make it a success. So
yep.
definitely anybody that's interested in talking about I-Day and wanting to be, how those are set up, because those are coming up for a lot of folks in October and November. So.
Yes. Yeah. And I had to miss our planning call earlier today, but yeah, we're going through the final paces of making sure that we know how it's going to run the day of, the setup and everything. And so you're right. We definitely should have at least a couple of, folks from different chapters, hopefully, that can kind of like key in on how they set things up. Because also there's a broad diversity in terms of how the I-Days are executed as well.
Yeah.
Because some of them are, I know ours is going to be still virtual this year, just because New Jersey, we were given the all clear a little later than other states, and so we didn't want to get locked into in person and then have to pivot again. But I think a number of other states are doing something hybrid. We've got some of the smaller ones that happen, but they happen very kind of like in a quaint space, or they do it at an employer's location versus renting out like a more formal like business conference location. That's going to be something that we're actually going to have to tackle next year in New Jersey, because typically we rent out this big conference location, and then being hybrid, the question is going to be, okay, well, do we need all of that, right?
Yeah.
Like in addition to the virtual, or do we just need somewhere that can help support the IT and then have a little bit of a less of a physical location? So we're going to have to look at that as well. But one of the hints, not to take thunder away from that future episode, but one of the hints is typically what we use is a facility that is like a wedding facility. And the wedding facility, they normally schedule a wedding right after our I-Day. So like we have to clear out really quickly. But what's nice is because they're double booked that day, we actually get a little bit of a price break because their main cash cow is the wedding. It's not us. Like we're the folks that just kind of keep the lights on. The wedding is how they make the real money.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be an interesting episode. Just trying to think of what else is going on around here. There's some stuff I could talk about, but then I would get in trouble because it's not official yet. So I definitely
don't do it, Matt. Don't do it.
Yeah, I don't want to step on any toes that way. That's something where what's funny is to speak cryptically about it, we had like a phone call where someone talked about like the unmentionable news that was supposed to be out there, and then there was all these like mea culpas and stuff like that. And so I don't know if too many people who watch are like Harry Potter fans, but the very first Harry Potter, at the end of the movie, Harry's talking to Dumbledore, and Dumbledore's like, well, what happened in the dungeon is between you and Voldemort, right? So obviously everyone in the entire school knows, right? Like,
yeah.
And that's exactly what the society's like. It's like, oh, well, this thing is hush hush, and you're like, yeah, everyone knows.
Yeah. Everybody knows.
I think the key is you just don't put anything in writing or record it on video, which is why I still have to be a little quiet about some of the things that are going on here. But I'm looking at some of the other things. So there was actually a conversation about these 15-minute presentations. Did you see this? So Paul Rosner shared this, and this isn't, I don't think this is a society thing, but who is CLM again? CLM is the
claims, is it Claims Litigation Magazine?
I believe, yes.
Yep.
Claims Litigation Magazine. And so they do these like these tech talks, which are these like short, almost kind of like 15-minute, like really kind of like concentrated, I guess it's all virtual, kind of like chats that they do. And this is something that's been kicked around. I think, we started this at New Orleans doing the little breakout tables or whatever.
Yeah.
And it continued for last year's annual meeting. And so I think this is going to be something that we're going to continue to try and do in some way, shape, or form, whether it happens at IN2Risk or if it happens kind of like on its own. But yeah, really interesting kind of stuff being talked about behind the scenes. So hopefully I'm not, letting the cat out of the bag on that.
Yeah. What's super cool about that and those really kind of quick bite, short attendance events like that, people's time and their calendars are so full right now because we're literally, most of us back to back to back to back and, don't have a lot of breaks. But if you can squeeze those types of things in, it's like bite-sized learning that you can
Yeah.
grab. And truthfully, as adults, that's how we learn.
Yeah.
Sitting down for a lecture for 3 hours or even an hour about things can often not capture you're not going to retain much from that. But those
Yeah.
15-minute, I get invited to like something that's called Tuesday takeaways.
Hmm.
And it's just, it can be inspirational, it can be motivational, or the talk is around, a particular subject. Really neat. It's 15 minutes. It's like 11 to 11:15. And I
Yeah.
can usually work that in on a weekly basis, and I get a text message about it. I pop into it and it's a Zoom meeting on my phone, one way Zoom meeting, listen to it, grasp it, and move on to what I need to do next. So those are, it's an innovative way to think about learning. And I think that, we have modeled things like that in the past, and I think we should continue to model those types of opportunities for people.
Yeah, I was very lucky when I went to college. My professors, as much as they knew about engineering, they studied how people learn. Like they were almost kind of like hobbyists as far as like psychology and kind of the learning, the mental aspect of learning. And so they would show us like the charts of retention, right? And so like information retention over time and just how it just like steadily declines and then at one point it just kind of like drops off a cliff, right? You could sit there for hours and hours and hours. What you're probably going to retain is 10-15% of the overall material that gets presented to you. So so since we're a little off script, let me ask you something that has to do with like the world kind of like reassembling into whatever it is now, right?
Mhm.
Um, how has it been managing a world where some people are now like, hey, let's go to lunch, let's get drinks, things like that, in addition to like tech, Zoomy, let's have 9 million meetings a day. Like, have you been able to balance that? Because it's been really difficult for me.
It it's an interesting challenge to try to figure out how, like, COVID forced us to just accept that our life was going to be part of our work.
Yeah,
Because you either, some people were working from their kitchen tables or ironing boards in the houses or whatever that you're working from, and the barrier wasn't there anymore.
yeah,
You didn't get in the car, you didn't commute to a particular location, or you didn't have to go to a particular meeting in a particular location. It kind of broke down all those walls for that. Now it's all about like logistics planning, and literally, I think I tell a funny story about this because we've kind of started experimenting with Wednesdays back in the office with my team, and
yeah.
those of us that are in our location. And it's like this week I went, I'm not going to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, oh, by the way, I'm leaving on vacation tomorrow and I have 4 million things to do in between the 5-10 minute breaks that I have in between meetings
Yeah.
today. So definitely not going to be there. And it was like, it's okay. It's no big deal. And I mean, everybody's been super flexible about that, but it's a challenge. It's almost like you're keeping up with two different calendars,
Yeah.
and figuring out, like, are you in the office today? Are you in the office today? Where are you, and what's happening? And I can only imagine, because I work in a team that is spread out all over the
Mm.
place. We're in all different locations anyway. And then I work with people through projects who are all over the place, as well. I can only imagine what it's like for those teams that are actually like coming back together in the office and then not there all the time. Like, you're having to make that shift. It's that mental shift of, oh, I can turn around and talk to you.
Yeah.
And normally I would have had to send you an IM and say, hey, can you chat or whatever. It's a whole other set of rules that are at play right now. So it's a big juggling act, I do have to say.
I've definitely had to like miss things or reschedule a lot more than I normally have to. And I can say that it used to be that like when I was driving in between appointments, if I had to make a call, that's when I would make my call. But it wasn't always like it was just if something needed to be taken care of like in that moment or whatever.
Hmm.
When I'm out and about, it's almost like if I'm not like at a client or at a meeting, if I'm in the car, I'm on like a Zoom call where, I'm just sitting there kind of like listening to it, not even participating, just
Yeah.
trying to like stay involved in, whatever the heck it calls it, like, travel mode or driving mode or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like every time I'm out because like if I'm not on the call and not with a client, it's like I'm answering emails like it's going out of style because everyone else is dealing with it as well. So it's like,
Hmm.
the same appointment gets rescheduled 15 times, and it's because, oh, this person has a Zoom call and then this person has to be out to a client meeting and this, like it's everything is kind of like converging into this like rat's nest, and it's like, ah,
Uh, all I got to say to that is we need to adopt that European model. As the United States, just as a
What do they
country,
work like? They work like 28 hours a week or
yeah,
something
I
like that.
think
It's like,
so. And then they can take like 3 months holiday, and
mhm.
I just I've recognized, and this is me being an old fuddy duddy here, really, but I've recognized like time is so precious to us now, and it's like, how do I want to spend that time? I love being productive. I love doing all of those types of things, but the balance of that, we can't allow that to get out of control and overwhelming for people. Otherwise, people like you, Matt, are not going to hang around the world for a long time. Okay, so it is a
And you know what? I think my wife might kill me first. Like,
yeah, yeah. For sure.
it's like and the other dynamic is that when everything was remote, you could, like, even though it was difficult you could put bookends, right? But
Yeah.
now the thing is, like, if you're traveling around all day and trying to juggle like the virtual meetings at the same time that you're traveling around, the time period that you have to do your actual work is like from 5, 6 o'clock at night until bedtime. And so at the same time, like, last night I get home and my wife's like, well, you have to bathe our daughter and the dog. And I'm like, I just got in. Can I get like it's like 8 o'clock. I'm like, can I get settled or whatever? And so then it's like, family mode until 10, 11 o'clock, pass out and then do it all over again the next day. It was like I've had the last 2 weeks. I just eat standing up in the kitchen. Like I'm not even at dinner. Like, I show up late. I have whatever leftovers, or if there's a plate waiting for me or something. And then it's on to, clean up the living room, like, read books, that kind of thing. And it's been really difficult because it's like, the actual work is happening after hours, which is also problematic because if I have to like deal with an issue with an underwriter, I think a lot of the underwriters are still trying to maintain that, work hours kind of
Hmm.
aspect to their job. And so, I email them at 8, I might not hear, like I might not see their response until 8 p.m. the next night. And
Yeah.
it kind of like slows things down. But,
Yeah. No, it is.
anyway.
It is always. I think it's a huge challenge for us to be able to figure out a way to make that work. Because if you need to be client facing, I could say, Matt, make block those days. Don't
Yeah.
allow people to overschedule you virtually on those days, and just make it to where I have to, we drew lines and we drew barriers around what we could do during COVID. We probably let a lot of those walls fall down because
Yeah.
the work life thing interrupted each other all of the time. But you're just going to have to lay that calendar out and say, I am not available for any virtual meetings on these days. I'm not
Yeah.
Zoom calling you on these days.
Well, and
So,
to that point, I had to. This Friday, I'm actually going to violate it for half the day, but I had to promise, like, Fridays, I will work from home because Monday through Thursday, and it was like I mean, everything kind of got put on pause for like, 18 months. And then
mhm.
all of a sudden, things started to open up again. But then there's a mad rush to get all of that pent up, work done before August when everyone goes away on vacation. Right. So it's like,
Yep.
I mean, especially for like my municipal accounts, I mean, no one is around in August. Like everyone is down the shore or the islands or Florida or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, you're doing 18 months worth of work in 2 months in order to get it in before vacation. So, no, anyway, this has been my group therapy session. Thank
Yes.
you very much for listening.
Yes. But I'm sure there's a lot of people who are in our industry and any industry right now that are juggling the same type of circumstance. And then also thinking about, fitting in all of this extracurricular stuff that we do around our life when it comes to
Yeah.
shows like this. And you do sell like a CPCU as well. So it is, and these things are important to us. And we know that they're important to members of the society. So, but at the same time, you got to look at it. You only get one life. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to end it's all going to end for us the same way. All right. You have to make the best of the time that you do have, and you have to make the best of that dash that we get. So
Yeah.
you got to think about where you got to draw the barriers, where you got to draw the lines. And that's why I was so clear with everyone for my vacation this week, because typically when I've been taking vacation during COVID and just here and there being out, oh no, I'll be available via email. Okay. You can hit me up, text me if it's really crazy or something I need to deal with.
Yeah.
This time around, I just said, I'm not going to be in any, I won't be near a phone. I'm not going to be where I can be reached. So, because I had to draw the line, I had to say, this is my time, this is my barrier, and I need to step away. And it's okay to disconnect. It really is. It is very difficult though, because once again, as we said at the beginning of this, what happens with Murphy's Law when you're going on vacation and out of town? The world gets on fire.
Oh yeah.
So.
And for anyone who is like, they do have to make that choice, like they really feel like they need to make that choice, you're gonna feel like you're letting some people down. You're not, right? Like, you have to, like, if you are gonna get a chance to go away on actual vacation, you have to put a gigantic wall around that and be like, no, this is time where I'm not connected, and quite frankly, if you do that and you're successful at truly disconnecting, when you get back, it's going to be like you will feel amazing, right? Yeah. And then you're going to have one of those moments like a lot of my friends have had where they're like, you know what? I'm selling my house. I'm buying a camper. I'm just going to sell stuff on the roadside and just drive all over
I can make
country,
t-shirts, right?
Yes. Yeah. Mike K said sleep is overrated. I gotta be honest, Mike. That used to be my mantra. I used to say I'll sleep when I'm dead, but it's getting to me. Like I had some behind the scenes stuff. We had a couple of weeks off. I had to take some time because I got to the point where I burnt the candle at both ends, and I just got sick like 3 or 4 times in a row. Not COVID, just like wound down, I probably got like a little cold or something like that. Mm-hmm. And the problem was, in normal times it wouldn't have been a problem. It knocked me out, and I was like just down for 2 days, and then I have to get back and recover, and then I got hit again and I was down for 2 days. And it was just because my immune system's down, I'm tired, I'm cranky, I'm not getting good sleep, all this other stuff. So yeah, no, I'm having to weave my way through that expanse, so to speak. I think a lot of people are also reevaluating how much money they really feel like they need to earn, right? Or how many hours they necessarily need to dedicate towards earning money, because that's also been a big consideration, where, something I thought I was like, you know what? I could probably make do with like 20 or 30% less and hire someone to help me out, and my life would be so much better, So
life choices. I have to, you have to choose definitely what is most important to you, not what is important to the rest of the world, because you got that dash. It's that time, and it's what you get. So don't while away the hours, because tomorrow they're not going to be here, and you'll miss them when you're older, for sure.
Oh yeah. So most definitely.
Yeah, waxing philosophical.
Look at that. We got really heady here at the end.
Yeah,
this is good. Yeah. So I will leave everyone with this. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell if you made it to the end of the movie. Thank you very much. the end of the video. Look, we will be back next week. We have Abby Clow coming on talking about the book that she authored, and we're going to be talking about change and how you manage that and kind of reinventing yourself and all this other stuff, which kind of fits in with what we were just talking about. If you do so choose to, kind of make some changes in your life. So should be really good. And yeah, we got Mike saying there's no prize for working 89 hours a week. Is there one for 90?
Other than maybe a heart attack.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's not a prize.
Yeah. A nice hospital bed somewhere. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So with that, we will be back next week. Thank you all for joining us, and we're looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.